Paul Revere. Perhaps you think of me as younger and hardier. Oh, but that was so long ago. April of 1775. I galloped up to this very house to warn John Hancock and Samuel Adams that the Redcoats were out. I've aged much since that day, and a friend has asked me to write about that ride while I still remember it, so that others might know the real story. I hope you don't mind if I read a bit of what I've written. You might be surprised at some of the details.
This crowd is smaller than it used to be.
In the fall of 1774 and winter of 1775, I was one of 30 who formed ourselves into a committee for the purpose of watching the movements of the British soldiers. The Saturday night preceding the 19th of April, about 12 o'clock at night, the boats belonging to the British transports were all launched, carried under the sterns of the men of war. We likewise found that the grenadiers and light infantry were all taken off duty. From these movements, we expected something serious was to be transacted. On Tuesday evening, the 18th, it was observed that a number of soldiers were marching towards the bottom of the common. About 10 o'clock, Dr. Warren sent in great haste for me and begged that I would immediately set off for Lexington, where Messrs. Hancock and Adams were, and acquaint them of the movement, and that it was thought they were the objects. When I got to Dr. Warren's house, I found he had sent an express by land to Lexington, Mr. William Dawes. The Sunday before, I had been to Lexington. I returned at night through Charlestown and agreed that if the British went out by water, we would show 2 lanterns in the North Church steeple, and if the land won. For we were apprehensive that it would be difficult to cross the Charles River or to get over Boston Neck. I left Dr. Warren, called upon a friend, and desired him to make the signals. Then 2 friends rowed me across Charles River. On Charlestown side, they said they had seen our signals. I got a horse of Deacon Larkin. While the horse was preparing, Richard Devens of the Committee of Safety told me that he came down the road from Lexington after sundown and met 10 British officers, all well mounted and armed, going up the road. I set off upon a very good horse. It was then about 11 o'clock and very pleasant. After that, I passed Charlestown. After I had passed Charlestown Neck, I saw 2 British officers. They tried to get ahead of me, and one tried to get ahead of me, and the other to take me. I turned my horse very quick and galloped towards Charlestown Neck, and then pushed for the Medford Road. In Medford, I awakened the captain of the Minutemen, and after that, I awakened almost every house till I got to Lexington. Oh, reading this brings back that night so vividly to me. I can almost hear Sergeant Monroe and his men coming up the road to guard the house.
Watch your step, Ned. Watch the hold. They've opened up there a little bit. All right, men, you know your assignments. Take up your positions. Good evening, Mr. Clark.
Oh, Will Monroe, is that you? You know Mr. Hancock, I am sure. Why are all these men here?
We feel there's trouble brewing tonight. Earlier, a mounted patrol of regulars rode through town, we think on their way to Concord.
I received a dispatch from fellow patriot Elbridge Gary just a few hours ago that 8 or 9 mounted officers of the King's troops were seen on the road. He suspects they're out upon some evil design.
Looking for you and Adams, most likely, to effect your arrest, if not your assassination. Mrs. Clark has been made distraught. are the rumors flying about?
Well, I sent word back to Gary that we were obliged for the warning and that we pass it along to Concord.
I believe this is a matter of the most deadly seriousness.
Then we are in accord, Mr. Hancock. These men are here as a safeguard for you and Mr. Adams.
Now, Sergeant, my fiancée Dorothy Quincy and my Aunt Lydia Hancock are spending the night in the West Chamber, sleeping, I trust. Could you see to it that your men remain as quiet as possible?
I'll attend to it, sir.
Thank you.
Is there further intelligence, John? My instincts and misgivings inform me that our friend, General Gage, is up to something. Seizing arms in Concord, arresting us, or perhaps something even more extreme.
It seems these times we live in a constant turmoil of threats and alarms. Now, Gage has 4,000 troops in Boston, and I believe he is under pressure from London to use them.
Strength he may have in numbers, but not in resolve and determination. Since they closed our seaport, our countrymen are turning out every week for drills, even our parsons and squires. But food and firewood are in short supply. The Royal Navy is buying up all the available mutton and wildfowl. Many of our homes are lacking in warmth.
Of which I am well aware, Samuel. Have you seen the condition of the palings in my picket fence lately? Hacked to pieces by those malicious regulars, seeking firewood. And fish, our most abundant staple, cannot be had in Boston at any price. If it were not for our friends to the south, we would be in the gravest of circumstances.
Thank God for their help. A crisis is most definitely coming. The only question is what form it will take.
Now, when Revere was here Sunday last, he spoke of unusual troop movements in Boston. That town is a tinderbox of rumors and suspicion. People all over the province are on edge.
Gage is readying an expedition into the countryside. If we only knew when and where, we could use that information to our great advantage.
Gentlemen, let us continue this conversation inside before retiring. Good night, Will.
Sleep well, gentlemen.
Samuel, that Samuel Adams likes to stir the pot, and he wants to be in charge. But we need someone like him to stand up to the governor's cronies. The situation in Boston, it's become alarming. Much too much turmoil. Do you think anything will happen tonight?
I fear the pot is about to boil over. Conditions are worsening, and every town is filled with distressed citizens who fled in terror from Boston. Trouble appears close at hand.
Aye. There is a reason that John Hancock and Samuel Adams chose to stay here in Lexington rather than go back to Boston after the provincial congress in Concord adjourned. You know, Samuel, the Reverend Clark's wife is a first cousin to Mr. Hancock. Why do you suppose that patrol was prowling the countryside tonight? Sergeant Monroe, any further news on those regulars?
None, Enoch, and I'm concerned about their activities, as is the captain. My wife and 3 young ones saw them ride by about 7 o'clock, and the family is most frightened.
I told my wife that if she heard alarm muskets, she was to take our young son and flee. I'm unsure where she would take the young boy. Perhaps across the fields to the Bridge Farm.
Hush, men, keep your voices low with your comments to a minimum. Families to bed and trying to sleep, so we're here to keep them safe, not to keep them awake all night.
Aye.
Listen, there seems to be some commotion down towards Buckman's, and there's a rider galloping here at full gallop.
The regulars are out! The regulars are out! What are you all waiting for? The regulars are out!
Reading your mouth! Who are you? What's your business?
Revere! My name is Revere, and I have urgent news for Mr. Hancock and Mr. Adams. There's no time to wait. I must see them now!
What's going on here, Cousin John? Oh, it's you, Revere. I recognize you now, but you're making entirely too much noise.
Noise? Noise? You'll have noise enough before long. The regulars are coming out, in force. I must awaken Mr. Hancock and Mr. Adams and warn them of the danger. Mr. Hancock, Mr. Adams, awake! Mr. Hancock! Mr. Adams, wake up! Wake up! Mr. Hancock, Mr. Adams!
What's going on down there? What's the meaning of this? Who disturbs us at this? Revere, it's you. We're not afraid of you. Do you bring us news from Dr. Warren?
Indeed I do. The regulars are out, hundreds of them, and fully equipped. They've been rowed across the river to Cambridge. I have believed that they're on their way to Concord and our military stores. And I'm out of breath. Yes, they're on their way to Concord and our military stores. I left Roxbury shortly after 11 p.m. this evening, and I've been riding hard ever since. I've already alerted the Sons of Liberty in both Medford and Menominee, and Dr. Warren has dispatched William Dawes to Roxbury and Cambridge. He should be here any time now.
What do you make of this, Samuel?
We must respond. The eyes of the people will be upon us. The liberties of our country are worth defending against all hazards, and it is our duty to defend them against all attacks. What a glorious morning this could prove to be.
Gentlemen, I beseech you, you've awakened my family, and Mrs. Clark is most dreadfully anxious.
Sir, it is just as we feared. The regulars are marching out, apparently hundreds strong. Dr. Warren has sent Revere to warn us of the danger.
This news is most alarming. I shall be down presently. Mistress Lucy, shouldn't these children return to their beds?
Certainly, Jonas.
Sergeant Monroe, send word to Captain Parker to alarm the militia.
Nathaniel!
Revere, come inside and refresh yourself while we discuss what to do.
Go up to the common, find Captain Parker, and tell him he needs to be here immediately.
Sir.
And come back with him.
Samuel, did you hear what Paul Revere just said? The regulars are out tonight, in force, just as we surmised. If they are proceeding to Concord, they'll be here in Lexington in several hours.
These are no longer idle rumors. Sergeant Monroe, what now?
We'll wait to hear from the captain.
The captain's on the common. He'll need us.
You men will not quit your positions unless I command you otherwise.
Sergeant, the captain's in the line of march.
This is where our duty lies, here. Here's Mr. Clark. Perhaps he can advise us.
I don't know what this day will bring forth. We must preserve our presence of mind. Our brethren in Boston have borne the brunt of the struggle, and now we must be ready and resolved to act, to preserve and recover our rights and liberties as Englishmen. This is a cause worth risking everything dear in life, yea, and life itself. You and your men must prepare yourselves for whatever may come.
The militia will be ready. Did you men come away with an adequate supply of powder and ball? You may have need of them before this day is over.
I came away in great haste, Sergeant, but not empty-handed. I have my powder horn, cartridge case, and extra flints. I am most anxious about my wife and daughter and our home on the Cambridge Road.
We're all anxious. I have a wife and 3 children, and my tavern is on the direct line of march of the regulars. Wait, listen. Is that another rider? Countryside's astir tonight, and that's not a good sign.
Hey, grab his bridle.
Pick it.
Who are you? What's your business?
Dawes, William Dawes. I come with urgent messages for Mr. Hancock and Mr. Adams. Are they inside?
Revere arrived a short time ago.
I left for Roxbury over an hour ago, but was delayed. Has Revere arrived yet?
Yes, he's inside with Hancock and Adams. Go right in. Oh, ladies, you've been awakened. I don't want to add to your anxiety. The regulars are on the road tonight, and we must look to your safety.
Oh dear, what does this mean? Are we at peril?
Now, Aunt Lydia, please don't become agitated and begin to fret. You will only weaken yourself.
Oh, nephew Jonas, what are we to do? Must we flee? Where can we go at this hour?
Dear madam, compose yourself, I beg you.
I knew some such thing would occur in this provincial place. If only my dear husband, Thomas, were here to take care of me, he would relieve me of this distressful burden.
There, Aunt Lydia. John will know what to do. He and Mr. Adams are discussing the situation at this very moment. Meantime, we can take our own measures. Mr. Clark, with the King's troops on the march, is there a suitable place to conceal our valuables, silver, watches, and the like?
Oh, dear, must we? My jewelry?
I would suggest the attic or down in the cellar with the potatoes.
Oh, then let us get to it, and promptly. Yes, carefully.
Sergeant, will you have your men bring forward the horses immediately? These riders must be on their way.
Men, bring up the horses, quickly. Quickly, lads, bring up the horses.
Samuel, have you any plans to hasten from this place? Perhaps conceal yourself. It might be wise. Rumors abound in Boston that General Gage has orders from London to lay hands upon both you and Hancock.
The necessity of the times, more than ever, calls for our utmost circumspection, deliberation, fortitude. Trust that we shall act accordingly, not in a rash manner.
I am much relieved. We must spur on to Concord and warn Colonel Barrett.
It may be best that we stick together, Paul.
No knowing how many patrols General Gage has out this night.
Let's be off. The regulars are out! Sound the alarm!
Regulars are out! The regulars are out!
Is that the bell alarming the militia? John.
In this hour, words can do no more, and actions must speak the loudest.
True enough. If we suffer tamely a lawless attack on our liberty, we encourage it.
Which is why I've retrieved my pistol. I intend to join the militia on the common and stand against these villains.
John, your spirit is commendable, but prudence must prevail now. It is best that you both seek safety elsewhere.
When I think of the men of Lexington, many of them miserably armed, standing up to those noxious vermin, I cannot conceive of being anywhere else. The front line, that is where any patriot must be.
We cannot make events, John. Our business is to shape them as best we can. Blood may well be spilled before the sun rises, although it is very important that we do not be seen as provoking it. Of course, you desire to be in the thick of it, but you and I belong to the cabinet. If John Hancock, president of the provincial congress, is gunned down on the common or delivered into the hands of the hangman, it does nothing to serve the cause of liberty.
Well, if I had my musket with me, I would never turn my back on those troops.
Mr. Hancock, please. Your life is in danger, and so is our mutual happiness. I beg you, please, do not remain here, but hasten away while you are still able. I shall go to my father's house in Boston as soon as possible.
Mistress Quincy, it is inconceivable. I shall not allow it. You shall not return to Boston as long as there is a redcoat bayonet left there.
You, sir, are most high-handed. Recollect, Mr. Hancock, I am not as yet under your control. I shall go to my father's house in Boston. I know that you mean well, John, and that you are concerned for my safety, as we all are for yours.
Miss Dolly, your anxieties are most touching, and your kind affection will sustain me wherever I am. I see the wisdom in Samuel's words, although it pains me. We shall find safe haven elsewhere and send word as to our whereabouts. But please, do not return to Boston. It is most imprudent. You and Aunt Lydia would be much safer staying here with the Clarks.
I agree with you, John. Mistress Quincy, I deem it most unwise for you to travel at this time. Please, you and Lydia shall stay as our guests for as long as the present circumstances demand.
Someone's coming.
Who is it?
It's Captain Parker.
Captain Parker, what is the latest intelligence? The news that Revere and Dawes have brought is most discomforting.
I wish I could just tamper your anxiety. But after the mounted regulars came through, 3 of my company volunteered to follow them. I also sent Thaddeus down to Menominee to see what he could find. As of yet, I have heard nothing from any of them. I just dispatched 2 riders to the militia in Bedford to notify them that the regulars are out.
And what about your company?
My men are assembled on the common. Whatever awaits, we'll be ready.
Now, Captain Parker, in this critical hour, it is crucial that if there is to be any provocation, any violence, it must come first from the King's troops. We must not sully our cause by attacking them if they do no wrong.
We're in agreement, Mr. Adams. I've consulted with my men. I've concluded that we're not going to make nor meddle with the King's troops. We will stand steadfast in our belief that we are free men, and we cannot have our rights trampled upon. But when the troops pass by, we will not molest them without them being first.
We can ask no more.
Captain Parker, know that in my heart, I will be standing there with you.
And now, gentlemen, we must see that you are conducted safely away from here.
Yes, Sergeant, is there some place we can go safely this time of night, somewhere more remote than here?
Yes. Captain Reed's place over in the Woburn precinct is nearby. He's a true son of liberty, and I'm sure he'd welcome you both.
Excellent. We'll prepare to take our leave.
Mr. Clark, we are most grateful for your wise counsel and your hospitality. Could you see to it that my carriage is prepared?
With pleasure.
Sergeant, it will be hours before the regulars arrive. Tell the men they be dispersed, but they must come to parade at the sound of the drum. I'm going to head back to Buckman Tavern to wait word.
Sir.
Thank you.
Men, form up, form up. Quickly, lads, form up. 2 ranks facing me.
Whatever happens in the morning, John, our fight is just beginning. We must awaken the spirit of the people, persevere until their rights and liberties are firmly established.
Samuel, I have the utmost confidence that this noble struggle for liberty will conclude gloriously for America.
To the right, face. To the front, march. The right wheel, march.
That's the story of what happened here that night, as best as can be remembered after so many years. Of course, it was hours later, down the road on the Common, when the first shots of the American Revolution were fired. I was there too, but that is a story we will save for tomorrow morning. Thank you, and good night.